Okay. Welcome, everyone, to our last and probably the best presentation, no pressure, Joaquin, of our wonderful, wonderful week here at Diamond Mountain and our restoration workshop. And so I am just absolutely pleased to introduce Joaquin Murrieta, and he is the Conservation Director at Borderlands Restoration Network, a wonderful group that we've been working with all week on cultural and spiritual relationships with water across the borderlands. How wonderful is that? I have taken some of the workshops and classes with Joaquin when he was formerly with the Watershed Management Group, and so inspired and so on fire about all the really wonderful things that can be done, and have toured his home as a demonstration. We had a tour in Tucson, and I don't know how many pictures on my phone of this wonderful dwelling that shows what can be done at a household level. So I'm really excited to hear about his new venture with Borderlands Restoration Organization, and I'm sure it's wonderful on both sides of the border. Welcome.
And I just stay here in the chat, right? Yeah. Right. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Joaquin. Originally, I'm from Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. So if you hear something on my English, like a weird accent or something like that, my first language is en español. And I might say some words in Spanish as I'm speaking. And the borderlands. Slow down. Okay. Good. Some of us call the borderlands as the heartland of North America. Here is where we see the most diverse creation of North America. That's where we're going to see more animals. That's where we're going to see more plants. That's where we're going to see more diversity of life in this region in North America. And it's very interesting that what we call the Sky Islands, it combines a variety of creation, a variety of life, a variety of humans. Several cultures have interacted in this landscape. And that's something I want to talk a little bit deeper on, how these cultures, how this diverse landscape come together, and how it come to be the way it is. And I concentrate a lot on water. And why is that? So let's talk a little bit about that. Is this tone good? Is this speed okay? Again, so let's go for the first slide. And you already have my name, Borderlands, and I keep hearing the fantastic week. Those of you been here, you put some rocks, you worked hard, you moved some dirt, and as we were driving here just now, started to rain. So hopefully, within the next 2-3 days, those rock structures that you build today are creating life. Isn't that fantastic? Just a few rocks that you put in are going to create life. And that's because what's coming from the sky. And what's coming from the sky is water, is the rain. So let's talk about that cycle of life. And let's go to the next one. Our history starts here. This is where we come from. This is Carina Nebula. This picture was taken by Webb Observatory that is flying around. But it's the origins of several galaxies. It's the origins of several stars. Believe it or not, according to science, this is 1,500 years, light years from us. So it's very, 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 very far away. So our galaxy, our sun, comes from structures like this. Next one. And similar image is the pillars of creation. That's the name of this picture. Several planets, several galaxies, several suns start from here, the pillars of creation. Isn't that something very weird? And this has created life on Earth. This has created planets like ours. These massive gases combine elements that create planets, that create humans, and who knows, maybe creates others living beings out there that we don't know. But it's also create a spiritual sense of where we come from. We are a variety of elements that are floating around. The beauty is that these elements get together and create things. I hear there is a compost toilet here somewhere. Many compost toilets here. I love to hear that. Compost toilets are creations of life, same as the planet. And it's interesting for us humans, we have the same components of the compost toilets. It's carbon, it's hydrogen, it's oxygen, it's nitrogen, all right? And we learned that in elementary school. En español, le decimos chon, C-H-O-N. And those elements come together in a variety of ways, and it creates different shapes, different forms, different structures that are living things. So we are a bunch of that carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, all right? Same as the planet, same planet Earth, same as the compost toilet. So it's always a balance on that to maintain that life. And for me, the question is, those elements that are floating around and come together, they create us. And why are we here? Why are we the way we are? Why are we the way we think? So coming here today with rain, with thunder, with lightning, with wonderful people, with wonderful landscape, it's just, wow, look at all this creation that is happening in this corner of the universe. That's fantastic. So next slide. And sometimes I like to ask questions myself. So some of you might already know what this dot is. But can anyone tell me what that is here? Or put it in the chat. What do you see there? Yes, Caleb. Fantastic. As Caleb shared with us, that this is Earth from very far away. And it is our planet. Isn't that weird? It's our planet. And this planet Earth, that's a picture that was taken in 1994 from Saturn. I used to say Jupiter, but somebody correct me. It is Saturn. And Carl Sagan, I don't know if you ever hear that name, thanks to una sonda espacial that was sent, he asked, can we turn that thing? And he turned it, and they took a picture of Earth from Saturn at that moment. But the nice thing of this is that everything we know, everything we've done, everything that we see as humans happens here. All the buildings, all the soccer games that England and Spain are going to play on Sunday, the female tournament and World Cup happens here. All the wars that we have as humans, they happen here. All the inventions, all the rivers, all the lakes, is on this tiny little dot. And if you look closer, it looks kind of a blue dot. So that's another question I have. If, let's go to the next slide. Like, this is home. This is where we are. This is our garden. This is our place. This is our planet. The question I was going to ask is, why is this planet called Earth? If 73% of the surface of this planet is water, why don't we call it water? You ever wonder that? We humans are kind of, we're a weird species. That's what I study in my PhD at the U of A, behavior of humans towards nature. It's human perception of the environment. That's how we call it. And how do we relate or not with our environment? How different cultures relate or not, how different values are there. So in that process, it's very interesting to see the different dimensions that humans have towards the creation of life. And that's why I like what happened here this week in terms of restoration, because you restore some sites with rocks and dirt and things like that, and you're going to create some life just by putting some rocks that is going to retain some water, that is going to retain some sediment, that is going to retain some humidity. Some things are going to pop up. And suddenly you're going to have a grass. Suddenly you're going to have a bird. Suddenly you're going to have a worm that is eating something. And that's life. That's the creation of things. So you creating or rewilding, quite frankly, and I can tell you why we call this planet Earth. It comes from a German word. It is, I'm not too sure of this. It's something to say of Erde or something like that in Germany, which is solid ground. This planet, we humans like solid ground. We like to be on solid ground because we are on water. We're wobbly and we're moving everywhere. We cannot stand. So that's why this planet is called that, okay? And because we like the solid dirt. But another funny thing here Do you see like a big pipe that brings water from outer space to this planet? Do you see another pipe that is taking water away? There are no pipes. It's like I said. The funny thing is that this water that I'm going to drink is been here in this planet since the creation of the planet. It's the same water. This water has millions of millions of millions of years right here on Earth. Then again, it's clean, it's pure, it's delicious, it's wonderful liquid. Just imagine all the experience this water has here in the planet. Can you imagine if this water start communicating to us where this water has been? You ever wonder that? It's the same water. Isn't that weird? Your head can explode if you keep thinking in that direction. Just what? These, and I love saying this, maybe at some point it was dinosaur pee. Maybe a dinosaur drink this water and pee, went to the environment again, and we call that, it's a water cycle. So the water is being recycling for millions of years in this planet. The worry of climate change, of climate or heating up the planet, is that our atmosphere that holds the water in, it can start opening up or being thinner. And that way water can actually escape from the planet. That has happened in other planets, right? But so far on Earth, it hasn't happened yet. So that's why we still have water. And we still have a whole unit as a planet because we have an atmosphere. And this is been carrying creations of life in this planet. So for me, water is such a sacred element that builds life, builds humans, builds jaguars, builds cats, builds lizards, builds everything on this planet has water, right? Our brain has 73% of water. In Mexico, we say, necesitamos agua para el tinaco. We need water for the tank in order to think right. We need 73% of water in our brain to think correctly. Otherwise, we start dehydrating and we start thinking incorrectly. I mean, we're dying. Our body is like 63, 64% water. So this, you can tell I'm getting excited. So this water for me, or for some of us, is the platform that carries the creation of life. Therefore, it has to be venerated. It has to be taken care. It has to be worshipped. It has to be respected. It has to be, this is the element that is uniting us as humans, as planet, and as life. I mentioned the dinosaur. Imagine if these waters start talking back to me. Hey, I wasn't a dinosaur. And it was fantastic. So those type of conversations to have with water, wouldn't that be fantastic? And the way I see it, when I see water and life, is that those conversations, you already start having those conversations this week. Because you're giving back life on Earth, thanks to this element, thanks to the rock that you put out there, Water is going to diminish speed and is going to create some kind of life. So that conversation already started. It's been 3,000 years, and I can stay with this image forever. Quite frankly, I don't know what's next. Let's go to the next picture. But these conversations can take different shapes. And it can be verbal. It can be spiritual. It can be physical, like the rock structures we build. It can be meditative. I don't know if you've ever done meditation with a plant, that you hold a plant. And you can actually start feeling some kind of energy from that plant. I recommend you to do that. That'll be fantastic. You can even feel, I don't know if what I feel is the blood of my body or is the salvia sap from the plant. Or maybe it's the same thing, okay? But it's the movement of life. I recommend that actually. And I haven't smoked anything. Just go out there, talk with the plant, feel the plant, touch the plant, smell the plant. That's life. That's the creation of things. And that's water, right? This is the Sonoran Desert, the great area of the Sonoran Desert. The wider sand looking color in that image is pretty much the Sonoran Desert. And then you see some green areas to the east of that picture. And that's the origins of the Sierra Madres in Mexico, but it's also the area that we call the Sky Island region. The Sky Islands, you can see on these hills over here, the Sky Islands is pretty much a mountain surrounded by a sea of grass. And you are in the transition zone of that Sky Island sea of grass region. Yes, it sounds very romantic name, the Sky Islands. Isn't that very nice? I call all that region the origins of water. We get more rain in the Sky Islands, which is Patagonia, which is Cananea in Mexico, which is Bacuachi, which is Bisbee. Those are the Sky Islands. And in average is around 500 millimeters of water, of rain comes down. In Tucson, for example, we get 220 millimeters. So it's very interesting to see that the origins of water of the Sky Islands provide life to all these cities that we have in the Sonoran Desert. Coming back again on how do we venerate the sacred element that is water. And I'm saying of this because the value that we see in water for the last 3,000 years is a commodity. We need water for this or for that, as opposed to seeing water as a wow, the creation of life. That's why we're drying up rivers. That's why we're demanding water for other things. That's what, and all that is okay. But it's been 3,000 years of the same activity, the same behavior. It's just the taking. Whether you're a city, whether you're a mining company, whether you are agricultural, the pistachios that we saw coming here, we're just taking to produce things. So we see water as a commodity, as opposed to seeing water as a sacred value element. That's why we exist. And that starts to change the way we treat water. All right. That's why I get very excited when I see a group of people venerating water. We call it restoration sometimes. Frankly, I don't like that word. I like reconciliation with earth, reconciliation with water. One word can start changing the behavior or the relationship that we have with water. And that's why I really love what I shared just a few minutes ago, that thanks to Borderlands Restoration Network Week, there was some courage to take some action. I love when that happens, because we bring other value, or we bring the actual value of water, which is the spirit of the creation. I think what's next on these images, it's a several structures on what reconciling, or the reconciliation of nature and humans can look like. You saw some techniques this week here. You practice some of those, but there is all kinds of ways of doing reconciliation. Let's go to the next slides. And I also didn't want to bore you with techniques and things. I think the purpose of my conversation today is that relationship of water, because it creates things. It creates life. If we go home or go to whatever place we're going next with that thinking, wow, water provides life to this planet. And the action is the value thinking that you bring into this element, which is quite very simple. I call it the Mickey Mouse effect. You have one oxygen, and you have two hydrogens. It looks like a Mickey Mouse. And thanks to that, we exist. Let's go to the next slide. This is the Sonoran Desert. And I love this image because I'm cheating, I'm looking at my notes. Look at all that life in there. Around Picacho Peak, around the Tohono O'odham Nation, which is another peak there, Keep Peak or Babo Kivari, around Tucson. It looks like this in February, March. Around the Pinacates in Sonora. Look at all that life. Look at all the spiritual beings that are there. The bird, the lizard, I hear that some of you saw a Gila monster here yesterday or something like that. That's another, the way we name things. A Gila monster. Maybe it's just a Gila goddess, I don't know. It's a beautiful creature. Yeah, I can bite you. Why are you doing so close to that lizard? Anyway, but I love this image because it represents again the life of the Sonoran Desert. It's thundering. And it looks like this because, and maybe Francesca talked about this, because we have two rainy seasons in this part of the world. So it rains in the winter and it rains in the summer. If we have good monsoon rains and semi-good winter rains, we're going to have a spring flowering like this. And all that is life. And all that is elements of water in it. All right, the flower, the lizard, the owl, the carpenter, the cacti, the palo verdes, anyway. Let's go to the next slide. And Sometimes asking the dumb questions is very important. You ever wonder why we have a desert here? Why we live in a desert? Why there is a desert? Those are the dumb questions that sometimes probably we ask at some point, but we forget. We have a desert. One condition of a desert is we have a mountain, which is the coast of California and Baja California. They have mountains. Here we are. Here's the Gulf of California. So the humidity of the Pacific comes here. It hits the mountains. That humidity goes up, and then it comes down. So it passed us. We call that a rain shadow. That's one of the conditions we have a desert. Just one condition. There's other conditions. But this desert gets to rainy season. The other interesting question on this image is, what happens when it rains? In the desert, or even in the world. Do you know that in the planet, it's around 34 inches of rain every day at the global planet day? Most of that water is in the ocean, the oceans that we have. But it's 34 inches of rain every day. Here, we get anywhere between 10 to 12 in this area where we are, I think. No more than 15. The question is, are we ready for the rain? Or what do you do when it rains? A lot of things of reconciliation or restoration, it has to do with rain. It has to do with water. And that's the question. What happened here this week? You're getting ready for the rain. And with that, you're giving back to the cycle of life. In science, we call it el ciclo del agua, the water cycle. And I think the next slide explains that. Let's go to the next one. And when it rains in nature, wonderful things happen. Like 50%, 50, of water. And this is in very general terms. Depends where you are and all those things. But 50% of the water infiltrates. That's why we have rivers. That's why we have lakes. Because water is infiltrating. And slowly is percolating to create rivers and lakes, bodies of water. 10% is the water that you see on the surface. That is on nature, if you have the natural vegetation cover. And 40% is a big word, evapotranspiration. It's very big. And sometimes it doesn't mean anything. For me, sometimes I call that word life, because it's the water that the tree takes, or the grass, or the plants, and even some animals like us, and take some water, use it, and then transpire that water. The trees do that very well. And that's why we exist too, because in that process, we have oxygen and things like that that we are breathing. That's nature. We humans are very good in disturbing the water cycle. We're so good at it. And so the restoration word is, can we go back or imitate the natural numbers? With the rock structures that you put, can we infiltrate 50% of the rain we're getting in that section? Of course, it's a little creek that you work with, that water is coming from somewhere else. But in that section, can we infiltrate 50% of that water? That's what we're doing. We're trying to be part of the water cycle. And that water cycle provides the creation of all kinds of things. But a lot of things have happened in this landscape. We even create cities. It's very interesting the way we create things. Oh, let's build a city, right? We take nature away, we clear nature away, we build something, and then we kind of forget that nature used to be there. And then we have flooding, and then we have heat, and then we have all kinds of things because we're not respecting the water cycle. Can we infiltrate in this center with the hard surfaces that we have, which is the roof, the sidewalks, the benches, so hard surfaces? The water is looking, where am I going to infiltrate? So the wonderful work that you did this week here, you're providing that opportunity for nature to infiltrate. Look what happened in downtown Tucson, for example. We're only infiltrating 5 to 10% of water. What happened with the other 45? Well, it turns into surface runoff. And sometimes we even flood cities and things like that because water doesn't find a way to infiltrate. All right. We have 30% less evapotranspiration. We have 30% because we have less trees. We have less green infrastructure, we call it, which I don't like that word either. It's just vegetation. We need more vegetation in our urban environments in order to respect the water cycle. Does this make sense? Cool. Let's go to the next one. Oh, and if you punch the next one, magic happens. Let's go to the next one. These are the rivers of the Sonoran Desert, and I just choose 5 of them. And that's how water flows down. All right. So that's life. What rivers originate in the Sky Island region? Cities, they're just kind of waiting for the water. And then it gets to Tucson, or it gets to Hermosillo, it gets to Sierra Vista, it gets to Cananea. And we just don't respect the water. We just use it. All right, can we do better than that? Let's go to the next. And there are all kinds of ways of doing it. Like this rancher in Cucurpe, Don Beto, is his name. My God, I learned so much from this guy. And is the everyday way of life for this person, just to provide back to the river instead of taking water from the river. So whenever it rains, let's go to the next one. Whenever it rains, Don Beto has created what we call living fences, which are this. These living fences are going to be cottonwoods, are going to be willows, and those branches that you see like that, they're holding the sediment of the river. So you're going to have cleaner water, you're going to have more floodplain for the river, and you're going to be able to grow crops in that with the flowing water of the river. So we're not taking, we're maintaining, or we're giving back, even creating soils with this structure. And this guy is just kind of, he plays guitar, he plays the accordion, he's very happy, blah, blah, blah. The blah, blah, blah. Why do I do these things? It's because of happiness. That's something we don't talk about. Thanks. Have you ever seen, particularly in the Sonoran Desert, this region, have you ever seen a river or a creek flowing in the Sonoran Desert? It looks kind of happy. And my mom told me that once. Mijito, ya oíste el río. Yeah, little son, have you listened to the river? Yeah. Don't you think it's flowing happy to the ocean? Wow, mom, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, kind of sounds happy. Poor River, she said. He doesn't know that he's going to get stopped in Hermosillo with a dam. Mom, first is all this happiness, and then is this dam. So this river hasn't made it to the ocean for quite some time. And the dam is dry because not too many people is doing what Don Beto Cruz is doing, kind of respecting, venerating, giving back. Again, it's been 3,000 years of human developing, and that human development is just been taken, right? Mainly water. Well, it's time to give something back, regardless of what you do. No, but the mining company needs water. Yeah, I know it needs water. But maybe you shouldn't be producing that much. Or invent other things. I don't know. The next one. Is this going in the right direction? I just wanted to talk about different values of water. Are we good with this? Okay. What follows here is different examples on how different communities are giving back to the water cycle, to venerating water. And it's regular citizens, regular people, like these guys from Cananea. We did a training similar to here on how to do, and Caleb talked very nice yesterday on how to do a rain garden on a church. So after a Sunday, people came out and did a rain garden at their church. And then, because we finished in 2 hours, and it was food at the end and la, la, la. And oh my God, we're done. And so now when it rains, people go and see the rain garden. Because the church and these people are giving back. They becoming part of the water cycle. I love saying that. Are you part of the water cycle? Or you just taking away or disrupting the water cycle? And when I say water cycle, it's a lot of life in it. All right. The next one. Same thing on a school. Same thing on a school. That these students designed the rain garden. Let's go to the next one. And that's kind of how we finish this rain garden. That's how it looked. But then the first rain comes. Let's go to the next one. And look at these kids. What they are enjoying their rain garden. I seen this on both sides of the border. I see it in Tucson. I see it in Hermosillo. This is in Cananea. It's just kind of the joy that water brings to life, and the joy that these kids did it. This is part of the rain garden they built, and they were swimming in there because it was some grass already in there. We just reshaped the earth, and so it's safer than the rocks you saw previously. But I also did this. I mean, it's an invitation to be part of the water cycle, to be part of the creation of things. Let's go to the next one. And these are citizens of Cananea that came to the Cattle Growers Association office to build a rain garden to demonstrate how the people that stay at home at the ranching level, at the ranch operation, can also be productive with rainwater. So that was a demonstration garden that we did with the intention, let's go to the next one, with the intention to have a vegetable garden, with the intention to irrigate the vegetables with rainwater. So that way we're not using drinking water to irrigate plants. That's the tank there on the side that we install later. Let's go to the next one. And if there is interest on this type of things, I can share this presentation. I like working with regular citizens, regular people, in terms of giving back to the water cycle. I like to say that we're creating a culture of conservation, that it becomes an everyday thing, that it doesn't need to be a researcher. I mean, it's good if it is, but you don't need to have a degree. It's just an everyday thing that we can do. All right. And this is happening on this town as well. Francesca is there. We came to talk about the importance of native plants to this specific town. I think it's Cananea once again. And the local people said, wow, this is amazing. I live here all my life, and I never walked on the creek to talk about plants. And here I am propagating the plants. There you go. And so anyway, it was a great training. Next. And I want to go a little faster. It's a bunch of ranchers that are doing their thing in terms of vegetation cover, creating a sponge-like in the soil by managing cattle. It's not just putting rocks out there. It's just different ways of managing things. We want more grasses, and there is different ways of doing it. And cows are helping us on how to do that. All right, it's just rotation and that type of thing. So these ranchers, let's go to the next one. Very happy to the work they done, and they sing, and they put a lot of rocks. This is another example. So you can see we're mending. I don't want to call it band-aids, but we're mending the landscape with the rock structures that we did today. This is on a bigger landscape level. Right here is we build around 30, 40 structures. And let's go to the next one. And the next one show us the way it looks from the ground. It's like an abanico. What is an abanico? A fan of rocks to diminish erosion. And check what happened after the first rain. Let's go to the next one. And look at all that life that just happens because what comes from the heavens, from above, hits the ground and it creates life. We didn't plant anything in here. It's just seeds that are out there of native grasses and other plants. Just by retaining the humidity, maintaining the soil, and the rocks are doing that. And once the rancher sees that, whoa, I want more of that. Before the rancher was telling us, well, one day it rained a lot and the soil appeared like this with those head cuts and things like that. And of course, I'm talking a lot about the romantic way of water to see water. But water has a lot of force. It can change a lot of things. I mean, you can drown people. You can take your car away. It has a lot of force. So how do we diminish the speed of that water? That's all we're doing with the rocks, by the way. We're doing three things: diminishing the speed of water, spreading that water, and infiltrating that water. That's all we do when we're working with these type of structures. Let's go to the next one. Another image on how a gabion is holding humidity and is creating that wonderful thing that we call life. And yes, it's a bunch of grasses growing in there. But if you start exploring in that, you're going to see a lot of little crawlers, a lot of worms, a lot of lizards. Suddenly, you could have a lot of birds in there. Suddenly, there's going to be butterflies in there. Suddenly, it's going to be, you're creating this wonderful cycle of life. all right? And because you're giving back, you're being part of the water cycle, and you're venerating what we call water. All right, let's go to the next one. I'm inviting you to come to Tucson, to come to see our home of Christian and myself, and to see how we live, how we are part of the water cycle, and we can do more. And this is a regular, typical home in Tucson, middle class, central Tucson. And I call our home is a productive unit. It's not a consumer unit. We're producing water because we harvest the rain. We're producing food. We're producing energy because we harvest the sun. So we're not consuming as much nature for the way we live. We're venerating water. Let's go to the next one. Because water used to flow on the street, and now it comes, we welcome the water from the street into our front yard. You're going to go 5 or 6 clicks down. So let's go to 5 clicks on the slides. Click, 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 click. To show the effect on how water moves in front of the house. Let's go to the next one. So all that water that used to be on the street now is being infiltrated in that basin that Caleb talked about yesterday. But also it rains on the roof. So the roof is also bringing water to the front yard. And let's go to the next one, and next one, and next one. ¿Quién le está dando a las? Dale como 5 veces más a las flechitas. Okay, you can start. Ahí está bien, ahí está bien. So all that blue is the water harvesting structures that we have created. And it was Christian and myself. And it took a shovel and a rake, cup of coffee, beer, I like beer. And it was fantastic, changing from a consumer unit to a productive unit. Yes, we irrigate some of that, but most of the plants in there are from the Sonoran Desert that don't require as much water as a foreign plant that is not from the region. So most of it, I think we harvest in a passive way, since you know about this already. This water that infiltrates in the ground, provides nutrients and humidity to all the plants. Let's go to the next one, la que sigue. And this is how it looks from the ground. These pictures are in March, after the big bloom season of February, March. La que sigue. Or next one. And it's just to show you the life. I get out of the house and this is what I see. So thinking about happiness, thinking about connectivity, thinking about giving thanks to life. In pandemic year, no, in 2021 was the rainy year. Kristen and I get out of the house anytime in the day. My God, there were so many butterflies out there. A friend of mine, a photographer, came, wow, you look like Blancanieves. What's that in English? You look like Snow White. Just walking, there's a bunch of butterflies flying around you, and it was wow. And you start looking around, wow, yeah, that's true. There have been so many studies that humans are happier when they're closer to nature. Even in some countries, including the US, doctors are starting to give you a doctor recipe to go out and enjoy life, go close to nature. Japan is doing a lot of that. Yeah, and insurance are starting to pay for that. So that's great. Just go take a hike. So we have nature in our home, thanks to the rainwater that we harvest. All right. And I call that DDN. What is your daily dose of nature? And pay attention to that. How close you've been to nature today, right? We're very close here. So this is fantastic environment where we are to get closer to nature. La que sigue. And yeah, la que sigue. It's just different images on the way our home looks. This house is part of a tour that Lisa's been there. This year is going to happen in November. It's another organization that organized this, Watershed Management Group. Pay attention to their webpage or social media, and you can come and visit the house in November and see how we live. La que sigue. Next one. Y de una vez la que sigue también. We have our own little river in the house. That water used to be on the street. So now it's on a basin. And it's going to infiltrate. It's going to provide humidity to all the plants out there. It's diminishing flooding. It's being part of the water cycle. It's providing life. Yes, there is a bunch of mesquite pots that we didn't harvest. But this water harvesting or green infrastructure thing is providing so much benefit to society, to our neighborhood. I think this mesquite trunk that you see is a big mesquite tree. The only it's sad, but it's the only mesquite tree on that side of the road that provides shade in the summer to the street. So we're also cooling down the heat island effect. So imagine, and we're trying to do that, and Caleb is really good at that. Imagine if the whole street has their own little river in front of their home that is providing nutrients to these plants. Therefore, we're not going to be flooding in that city or in that street. It's going to be covered with shade. It's going to be cooler. We're going to use less energy to cool our homes and that type of thing. Just by changing the way we see water, just giving back. Not all the water should be for humans. Let's remember that too. Some water should be for nature, because we need nature too. So at the end, it's for humans too. How are we doing with time? All right, let's la que sigue, la que sigue, la que sigue. Dale muchas veces. This is the back of the house, but sobre todo ahí, that's why it's a productive home. 5 veces más. Va a salir un compost toilet. How we use the water to produce food, to use the compost toilets or urinals or the water for animals like chickens and tortugas. That's our outdoor shower. And this is just to see how we venerate in water. And these are different images from rivers that used to flow in Tucson, but they're still there. The idea is to bring back with a group we're creating. We call it La Red de las Islas del Cielo. And Watershed Management Group initiated this And we're continuing with Borderlands Restoration Network to create this network of groups to give back to nature, to give back to life. So this is just to show you that Tucson, same as Phoenix, believe it or not, used to be surrounded by water. And we can bring that back. I'm gonna stop here. Vamos a detenernos aquí. I took this image last weekend in Mount Lemmon. But these are little droplets of rain on a grass. This is the origins of water for the Murrieta River, which provides water to Tucson from the aquifer. So these droplets, last weekend, they were creating flow of water on the Murrieta River, on Mount Lemmon, all because these drops get together, they cuddle, and suddenly you have a tiny little stream. Some of it is infiltrating, some of it is providing life, some of them creates rivers. But Mount Lemmon is in the air, is a sky island region that provides life to the mountain. There is a name of this mountain. Yes, Mount Lemmon, Catalina Mountains, Frog Mountain. I'm forgetting the other name, but in español is la montaña del sapo, Frog Mountain. And if you click one more, la que sigue, it kind of reminds me of, next one, it kind of reminds me of the importance of changing the view we have of water, of being part of the water cycle. Because water, as we mentioned, has been on this planet since the creation of the planet. And it's providing life to all kinds of creatures. And that life has its own spirit. But the spirit is moving in the different processes of life. It's moving through water because of all that life that is being created. So the water is the medium to the spiritual values of all the creatures in the planet. Isn't that fantastic? And we are part of that value of water. We are part of that water cycle. And the more we think like that, the better it is for us and for the planet. So that's the reconciliation we're doing when we're restoring nature. We're reconciling with the value, spiritual value of water. And when I say a spiritual value of water, is the relationship of humans, is the relationship of animals, is the relationships of plants. Because the venue or the platform is water that is providing life to all of us. And in that life that came out of that first image, all those elements getting together, we're so lucky by chance, we have a planet. So we need to take care of that planet because we're here, all right? This might be the last one. Let's go to the next one. Yes, and let's go to the next one, like I see it. And I can provide, I mean, they're just pictures, but there is a recording. Totally, yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Caleb will present the results of the week.
Okay.
Why? Be careful.
Well, thank you once again, Dr. Joaquin Murrieta, for closing off this week. I just can't think of a better person to help wrap up what we've been doing this week and help bring context to the hard work that we've been doing as a team. So thank you once again. Welcome. So I'd like to show some images of what we've been doing. You've been hearing about it every day. So now let's take a look. First, we've got, is that Jordan right there? We've got Jordan working hard, moving rocks. All right, let's go to the next one. This was one of my favorite structures that we created. Is she in here? This is the Charmaine. She was an artist with these rock structures. You build a rock structure, she made it perfect right at the end. There's going to be a whole series. Let's see the next one. There she is again. And what I love about this image too is you can see how big this rock structure is. And you can visualize how much sediment's going to sit right behind it as well, along with water, soaking slowly into the ground right there. Let's go to the next slide. There we go. We caught him in between slinging rocks, but here's Justin right here, moving around with his Idaho right there. Next slide. There she is, continuing with this rock structure, working hard. You can see she's got one of those rock hammers right there, and that's how we finish those rock structures, is by chinking in those little rocks that really hold those big rocks together. You can see there's a little Ocotillo that's going to benefit from this as well. Next slide. I'm observing apparently what's going on, and hopefully cheering on Charmaine from a distance right there. Next slide. She's still doing a great job. Next slide. Yeah, there's Xavier showing off his good work. He looks pretty happy doing that too. The next slide. Yeah, there's the master right there. There's Nicole. With some, it looks like some pretty happy students there too. That's pretty neat. And look at that beautiful rock structure that she made right there as well. Next slide. It's a great photo of Caden right there. Next slide. That's a great image too. That's fun to see folks right there. We were hanging out at this old guard shack right next to their spring. And this is the spring that we were working all week to try to support. So it's fun to sit under the shade of those trees, talk about medicinal plants and share some laughs. Next slide. All right, this is a great opportunity to do a little plug for Borderlands. Here's our website right now. Visit our website, borderlandsrestoration.org. You can join our mailing list. We send out monthly e-newsletters. We send out twice a year a print newsletter. And then if you're interested in plants, check out borderlandsplants.org as well. You can see right there, there's a little link to it. Yeah, we do these types of projects all over the place. It's been an absolute pleasure this past week to not only collaborate with Diamond Mountain, but also with Sky Harvest and meet, the next cohort of ecosystem engineers and restorationists. So thanks for all your work, and thanks for giving so much of your time and effort and energy to this beautiful place.
Next slide, please. If you want to stay connected with Sky Harvest, the second party in this project, please scan this code below, especially because they are coming up very, very soon in the next days with a new project, which is called Oasis. And I think it might have to do with some kind of water, who knows? So go to the website, sign up for the newsletter, stay tuned. Next slide, please. The third party involved, Diamond Mountain. And we would like to invite you, if you want to come back and plant herbs, please come September 11th till 15th. Our Apache friends, Manny and Rose, you see them on the picture. Manny is the one with the yellow-orange jacket, and Rose is the one with the tambourine drum. So they will guide us which plants we are planting there. We have it already prepared, so we are ready to plant. If you want to help in that week, let us know, scan the code, apply, and come to volunteer. Or you sign up for the newsletter on the website and find out what else we are doing here in Diamond Mountain. If you want to do, can we go back, Francesco, to the Sky Harvest? Oh, skip in.
So Project Oasis, excuse me, is going to be a model that we will implement in the town of Bowie. 100 homes, 312 people. We are going to retrofit water harvesting, storage, and distribution equipment on each participating home. We're planting a high-yield community food forest on 1/4 acre at our center in downtown Bowie. And we will get as many composting toilets installed as possible to wean the town off groundwater and provide their soil amendments and food locally. Woo! And then we'll do it in all the other little towns.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Go to the Sky Harvest web page if you want to be updated on that one. Then please 2 slides ahead, Francesco. One more, yeah. You find all the recordings and the slides when the speaker has agreed to it on that web page, so you can really check out all the slides and information. And also just revisit the recordings, because oftentimes you need to hear it twice, 3, 4 times to get in all the information. Time for thank yous. I would like first to thank all the people involved in the online production. People who recorded in total 4 languages we had. Gina, thank you so much. Barbara, Oichini, Ella, and Horatio. Translators, Laura, Oinis, all the best for the baby. Monica, Berta, Fernanda. For Russian, Olga, Natalia, Svetlana, Arina, Nikita, Natalie. For Chinese, one name, Katie Chia. Katie, you are amazing. Thank you so much. Marina, who is here on site, but she's our tech master. She's sitting in the library. Francesco, thank you so much for doing the slides. And all the pins that always the right person is on the screen. Thank you so much. Nick on site for the tech, thank you so much. Then we had beautiful chefs, Katie and Rocio, who fed us all week long with such delicious vegetarian food. I hope all of you enjoyed it. I was not sure how to call it. Now I call it kitchen stuff. Katarina, Carding, Anthony, and Madison, who helped just to prepare everything, get the buffet ready, that everything is clean and ready in time. Thank you so much. I forgot our 3rd breakfast chef, John, who made these incredible eggs every morning. Special mention to John. And our special fridge doctor, Joe, who kept the food cool because we had a little bit problems with our fridge. It needed a special doctor. Then I want to thank from Sky Harvest, Alex and Carding, they took mainly care of the speakers in the morning. And thank you so much, and acquired more or less all of the volunteers. Thank you so much, Caleb, Nicole, Jordan, for being here, for giving your knowledge, for guiding, make sure that everybody is safe. And since we had rain yesterday, I heard the dams do their job. So already quality proof. Thank you so much. Then to all the speakers, I don't know about you, it's so much information. I have to go back and listen again. I think it was a beautiful, I don't know, rainbow of different topics. So it just spotlight on each aspect. Thank you so much to all of the speakers. And thank you, because these are the main ones, to all of the volunteers who build these new programs. You are the stars. Please come back next year. I think we already agreed somehow that we do it next year again. So sign up in one of these newsletters, the QR codes we showed, to be informed, either to come here and help with your muscles and your sweat and your blood, or join the summit to get to know how you do it at home. Thank you again to everybody. Thank you to participants. Please come back next year. I'm looking forward to it. Let's change the world together and give water back to the earth.
Thank you,
Can you do the other one as well? Thank you.